Mark chapter 10, verse 45, Jesus said, "The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Here in the Garden of Gethsemane, he makes the first payment. And in verse 36, it is settled. "Yet not what I will, but what you will." He decides it's not about his own comfort. In his humanity, he wants a way out. He wants to avoid the pain. In his divinity, he knows there is no other way, and he must suffer. And so it is settled. Not what I want. I want to do what the Father wants. He put his personal desires and his natural human tendency to avoid pain on the line. "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven," just as he taught us to pray. Right here, it's settled. He's going to the cross. His desire to obey the Father is stronger than his desire to avoid pain. So he prayed through it, and he arrived at this conviction: obedience is better than comfort. Every Christian has to go through with this. If you haven't yet, I promise you, you will. Every Christian has to go through this. When obedience causes suffering, what will you do? When suffering is knocking on your door and everything in you wants to find a way out, and obedience says stay in, what will you do? Right now, I know some of you are enrolled full-time in the School of Suffering. You are going through some things that you never thought you would face. And in your heart, you're doing what is natural and human and good to do. You're crying out to your Creator. You're saying, "God, make it stop. Please take this away. I don't want to go through this anymore." You might be suffering because you refuse to compromise your integrity, and that's costing you something. You feel like people around you are selling out and they're getting ahead, but it's hurting you. You might be suffering in a difficult marriage, and the pain, you want it to stop. You want the conflict over. You want a way out. Obedience says stay in and stay faithful and honor your covenant. And that means it's going to hurt. What is God taking you through right now? What is going on in your life? Is suffering knocking on your door, or has he already found a way in? And there's this tendency, you're like, I got to find a way to make it stop. I got to find a way to end this. Maybe the pain feels like it's more than you can handle. Jesus can relate to that. Isn't that great to know? He's been there too. He's faced it too. Jesus is not immune to pain. He's suffered more than any of us. He's suffered in ways that we can't even imagine. He's suffered the most intense mental and emotional pain that a human being can undergo and survive. And the Bible promises us that Jesus' pain is connected to your pain. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 12. Speaking of the Messiah, it says, "Surely he has borne our griefs. Surely he has carried our sorrows." That's true. We can be strengthened by the fact that we know God hurts too. God knows what it feels like to hurt, physically and emotionally. When we hurt, he hurts with us. And the suffering of Jesus can comfort us and sustain us when we go through it. The suffering of Jesus can empower us to obey when we go through it. And that's good news.